Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome back to Boss Leap. My name is Dr. Sylvia Morris, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Angela Walker. Today, we had a fantastic conversation with Valerie McDowell, who is an author, a book editor, a book coach, and we had a fantastic conversation. Before we get into that, we are going to talk about what grounds us. So, Angela, what grounds you?
I think just being in nature grounds me, but more specifically when we look at, green space or blue space, definitely water. And the most grounded that I can say I typically am is if I'm by the ocean at the sea. Doesn't have to be the best, doesn't have to be the bluest, but if I can hear the sounds of the ocean, the waves, the birds, the sun, all of the things, salt water, all of that grounds me. But more recently, even just being at the lake, it's not the same, but when you're on the water and you see, it really doesn't even matter. I mean, you can have high winds, low winds, you still see the ripples of the water. And for me, when we talk about breath work and taking that deep breath, it just comes naturally. Like if I am there by the water, it's natural where I take that deep breath in,
yes.
And that sigh, and that grounds me. So I have to do that some type of regular basis. And now I found out, okay, well, maybe if I just go to the pool, not the same, but
water, still same thought.
Yeah. And getting back to my old tradition of swimming. Yes. And so I've done more of that this summer. And yeah, those are things that ground me, but just being in nature in general. How about you?
So I agree with you. Certainly being at the water is grounding, but for me, it's people. There are certain people in my life, like when I'm with you all, our fellow co-authors for Girls Trip, that is grounding. It reminds me of who I am and sort of where I've come from and my place in the world. Certainly anytime I spend with Uncle William, he grounds me, and it reminds me of family and that I belong to people. So I really enjoy being in the presence of those that I love, and that for me is definitely grounding.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So what we will do now, the next voice you will hear will be our guest, Valerie McDowell.
Today, we are sitting down with Valerie McDowell, writer, editor, and founder of the Book Coach Accelerator, with a mission to help busy professionals finally write and publish their books. She's turning untold stories into powerful legacies. We're talking clarity, confidence, and the power of getting your book done. And I have to add, we had the honor of working with Valerie, and I cannot say enough good things about the experience. But she was the final push in us getting our book published, The Game Plan, A Woman's Guide to Living a Life in Medicine. And I will, without further ado, I will welcome Valerie McDowell.
Well, thank you, Angela and Sylvia. So glad to be here. I'm excited, and I'm even more excited that I got to be a part of your book journey. So thanks for having me on today.
Thank you for coming. And again, as far as getting the book done, you got our book done. So we want to thank you at the outset. But Valerie, tell us about your journey. When did you first realize that writing would be a central part of your life?
Absolutely. I have always been what I call a word girl. I've always loved words. I literally read the dictionary for fun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
you
I
were a
used
good
to,
spelling bee person.
yes, I definitely did a lot of spelling bees, and I have lots of random information in my head. So Jeopardy, I could be a contestant.
Yes.
I love new words. I even wrote a little skit for kids to do a spelling bee. So yeah, words are a
Ah.
big part of my life. I even had a friend that she wrote a note to me and said, "Words are your friends." I was like, "What?"
Mm.
I love
Mm,
that. And so they are like, and they have comforted me.
mm,
And they have really been the way for me to see life forward. So words
mm.
have been a big part of my life, and with words, you have books, so lots of books,
Yes.
and especially storytelling. I'm a big fan of narrative and storytelling, and really the stories of our lives. There's so many stories that we don't
Mm.
know, and so having this as a foundation and base for my life has really allowed me to connect with so many different people.
Well, we're so incredibly grateful for you, and our paths, just overlap just at the right time in
Mhm.
us writing our book, and it involves some of the stories that we had in getting into medicine. Also, having you on a guest is just full circle because Boss Leap was born out of the desire to tell women's stories,
Mhm.
and so many powerful inspiring stories that we've had, so far, including your own, that not everybody gets to hear. We're not necessarily in the media every day, but powerful stories nonetheless. So again, grateful to have you here. Can you tell us if there was a pivotal moment or person who encouraged you in this life of storytelling?
Sure. There actually have been a number and in different kind of stages of my life.
Mhm.
With some, it's just really been a kind of push, like the way people say you should really write a book. They're like, you really should write something. Like you should be
Mhm.
writing. And it normally came about because I was fixing or making something look better. Like if I
Mhm.
heard someone, say something or a resume, and I'm like, can I see that for a second? Can I fix that up? And so, it started really from school, doing more editing of projects and things. And even I was part of a theater group at my church for a long time. So I went from editing scripts to writing. And so that was one of the
Mhm.
pushes where they were like, why don't you be the writer for this
Mhm.
group? And so I became the writer for our drama troupe. And then
Wow.
in a different life of mine, I met a program officer who, when learning about my background, she's like, you can just write your way out. And I was like,
Hmm.
write my way
Mm,
out? Like, I had never heard it said that way. So I'm also
mhm.
I love the turn of a phrase. So when she said,
Yes.
write my way out, she's like, if this is a gift and this is something that people know you for,
Mhm.
you can use that to navigate your way through whatever kind of career you want. You can write
Mm.
your way out, write
Wow.
your life the way you want it to be worked out. And so I've
Mm.
really taken that to heart. And it's something I have on my wall that I
Mm.
keep it. Like if I run into challenges, it's like, okay, what do you need to do? Maybe you need to
Mhm.
write your way out of that.
Wow.
So several people in my life, and
Mhm.
those two really stand out, from writing drama because I ended up doing it for 20 years. And I was like, I need to put all of those things I wrote together in a package. And then,
No
and just
doubt.
the kind of backdrop of, when things get challenging, do you need to write
Mhm.
something? And,
Mhm.
I've written letters to myself about what I want to see and how I want to see things happen.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
sometimes, there's even scripture related to that, write the vision, make it
That's a
plain. So
Mhm.
sometimes
prayer.
we
Yes,
have
make it
to
plain.
write
Yes.
Yes.
things down to see what we want to
Mhm.
see, and you first
Mhm.
get it in your imagination and then you need to write it down before you really see it. So those
Wow.
have been some foundations for me.
Great
Wow.
reminders.
So
Mhm.
we all have the privilege of having gone to Georgetown. Certainly, Angela and I went to medical school there. You went to undergrad there. Can you
Hmm.
talk about how your experience at Georgetown helped to shape your writing and then professionally as well?
Absolutely. Well, Georgetown was I was a first gen in my family to go to college. So
Mm.
I had to have that first opportunity. I'm the fourth of five kids. So
Okay.
my three siblings ahead of me did not go to college, did not even take the SATs. It
Mm.
wasn't, no one in my family had really went to college. So it wasn't something that we had experience with. And
Valerie,
so
where are you from?
I was born in Harlem, and then
Oh, you're a New
Another
Yorker.
yeah,
Harlemite.
so I'm a New Yorker, and we moved to Jersey when I was in about fifth grade, and I graduated from high school in Jersey, and then I came to DC to go to Georgetown. And so I came from those, metropolitan areas to this in the
Yes.
time of Reagan, so that dates me a little bit, but you
You look
know,
great.
80s are
I,
good.
yes, I just hit
80s are
60,
good.
so I'm celebrating all year.
As
Yes.
you should.
Yes,
Mhm.
and
Wonderful.
so it's been quite a journey, but going to a predominantly white institution was a little challenging. There were not many of us on campus undergrad, and probably not in the med school as well.
Mhm.
But you have to find your footing. You have to find the place where it works for you. And I was in the business school. We actually didn't have a building. Like there's a whole fancy
Oh,
building
wow.
now. We
It's
didn't even
like
have a building.
McDonough or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but we had a lot of fun things that were going on for those in the old school. They know about Soul Night. It's when the Black students came together on Sunday night, and actually students from all over from different universities came. And we would connect and dance and have a good time on Sunday nights.
I
But
think I saw several of those people at the Black Summit on the dance
yeah, you
floor.
did. Yes. And because, they have a whole Levy Center, like you can't have
Yeah.
what you had back in the day. That was
Yeah.
the Healy building in the basement. It's like, I don't even think anybody knows that that's where everything took place. But
Mm.
it was a vibe, as the young people say now. It definitely was a vibe back then.
Mhm.
Good
But
times.
but yeah, so I had really good experiences. The further I'll say I got into my business classes, I was a marketing major, and so that led actually to how do you talk about a product, how do you market it, how do you share, and make someone want it. What's the
Mhm.
impetus to get somebody to buy your product,
Mm.
to want to have an experience with this thing you're trying to sell to them. And so that kind of stayed in the background as I, did other things, but it was always about how do we talk about something? How do we write about something? And how do we make people want, desire something that you have? And so those
Mhm.
skills, stayed with me, the product and packaging and marketing, all of those um,
Mhm.
kind of foundational things you learn in a marketing course. And public speaking was a big part of it. And I had a wonderful teacher who, she pushed you to get out there. I'm an introvert
Mhm.
by nature, but I say all my gifts are extrovert. I have extrovert gifts. So everything I
I
do
like
has to
that.
be for other people. So I have to talk, I have to get out in front. And so, because of those gifts, I'm able to use that. And so Georgetown was a great base. I've stayed
Mhm.
connected with a number of students over the years, being part of the Black Alumni Summit, did the oral history project at Georgetown. So
Yes,
I've
we're
interviewed
friends.
others and they've interviewed me. And so it's just a wonderful experience to just really stay connected, to see just how the university has grown and how we as students have grown over in our careers.
Hmm. So we certainly know how you have helped us in our getting our product out, our book out. We didn't start from scratch with you. We had already written, and you helped edit and then definitely pushed the entire project out to fruition, and made it become an actual product that we could sell, which we're so grateful for. Again, I can't say that enough. But I'm curious to know if you're talking to a new writer, someone that's never written, can you tell them how you approach the writing process? Do you follow like a strict routine, or is it just more intuitive in how you write?
Yeah, I would say it's more the latter, and it really just starts with a conversation. I like to find out, what is the story that you're trying to tell, and who is your audience. Knowing who you're writing to is key to you writing the right story, because every story is not for everyone. No book is for everyone, and so finding who that audience is, who that person is, and really talking to them. In you all's book, The Game Plan, it's like you're talking to potential students, like, and you're giving your own personal stories in it, where you're talking about, and this is how I did it. Someone needs to hear how you did it so it can resonate for them. And so for me, it's I also do what I call listening to your life. In that conversation, I often have people just tell me as we're talking, just tell me about your life, tell me about your story. And it's in those pieces, that I start taking notes myself. And then, if they have a title or something that they've been, planning, like, this is what I think my story is about. This is the story I want to tell. But sometimes in that storytelling, I'm like, are you sure it's that? Because I'm hearing this. Or there's an energy around a particular story or a way they're talking that, they may not hear it, because they're focused on telling a particular thing. But it could be something else, or at least that could be the first story they need to tell. Because sometimes people have multiple stories they need to tell. And some of the work is pulling them apart. It's like, that's not one story. That's like 3 stories or 3 books, that you need to write. And so part of it is just helping people get clear, on the story they need to tell and who they need to tell it for.
Certainly an editor is crucial for all of those things. And our editor kept saying to us, be more personal, tell us the story behind that, give us some description around that. And that, I think, really makes a difference in our book. But the other thing that happens, I think, sometimes as you're writing is you get to what we call it a roadblock or perhaps a writer's block. How do you support writers through that period of difficulty?
Yeah, that's real common. Sometimes I joke about it because I was like, do you ever have eating block?
I should have eating block, but I don't.
No.
So you don't have writer's block. You're just, you're just focused on the wrong thing. And then sometimes it's like, because sometimes it's I don't know where to start or I don't know where to start this chapter. And so, again, having a conversation, it's like, well, what do you want to say? And thinking about that story, because it's important to have an outline. So all of those kind of fundamental things we learned in school actually are really, when you were writing that paper in 5th or 6th grade or middle school, they're write an outline. An outline is key because it helps you, one, stay on track. You can always adjust it and, at least create it. And it can adjust, like that first chapter might need to be at the end or you need to move something, but you really need a frame to put that story in. Because sometimes, I help people often with memoirs, for instance, and it can't be your whole life. Like, what part of your life, I was born in Nutbush, Tennessee in 1923. It's like, okay, okay, what part? Like, or what are the 10 highlights, that always, because sometimes there are stories that people tell all the time, that, it could be one of those, but again, it's like our lives are so full and we have so many different aspects of it. It's like, you want to talk about this part of your life? There's a nonprofit side of my life, but then there's an artistic side of my life. And then there's a community-based part of my life. And then there's a faith-based. So it's like, what part of my life am I going to talk to? Because sometimes if I try to combine them all, it's like the story is just really not cohesive and there's no flow. But if it's like, but if you find the story, you can weave in other parts of your life to it. But, but what's the underlying story you want to tell? Do you want to tell someone like how to have a successful career? How to find joy in the little things, what's that story you're telling? What's the impetus for you? Like, why do you want to tell this story? I've had a couple, and it's funny. I don't always work with couples or 2 people together. Like you guys were 5, but you were 5 individual women. This was a married couple, and I was
wow. That sounds
are
fraught with
y'all
difficulty.
gonna tell me the same story, or are these 2 different books here?
2 different parts of the story. Interesting.
Yeah, because you have a different perspective on the same experience you're having. You're married to each other, but your experience of this marriage is different. I said, so what story are we telling together?
What are we going to stick to?
And get your story straight, too.
Straight.
That was a lot of the meetings. Okay, she said this, and you said this. Which part of this? Especially
I can imagine that being challenging.
About how to have a happy marriage.
That would be.
That would be happy.
Yeah, right. So that book got put on the shelf for a second.
Yeah.
I'm not a counselor, okay? I don't have those credentials. It sounds like there's something else happening here,
Yeah.
And even, as I was saying, as I listen to your life, I'm listening for, what are you not telling me? And sometimes you want to tell a story, but you don't want to tell the whole story.
Right.
Because you want to make yourself look good or make the other person look not good.
Right. But the thing is, people actually respond more so to the real truth, gosh darn dirty truth, than they do to, because they don't, if you're not honest and authentic, they can feel it. They can sense it through the pages, and it could be that you're hiding something that you're ashamed of. Or that you're not proud of, or something, like I tell people, like, we're not doing exposés, we're not outing people.
Right.
But if you're not ready to tell a story, then maybe that's not the story we need to tell.
Because that's what I think. Like, if I think about writing something about my life, you're automatically including others in that story, so that in and of itself, depending on who you are and how much you share, can limit the story itself.
Yeah. So we're not doing negative stories about people. It's like, are you in good relationship? Can you tell this story successfully? Where if you're crying throughout, you're not ready. Or if you're angry, that comes across too. It's like, whoa, I could be reading something or just having our one-to-one, kind of meeting, and it's just like, I'm not sure you're ready to tell that, But the thing is, because especially if you're talking about your life, it's ups and downs throughout.
Sure.
And the thing is, the better story is how you got to the other side of that. That's the story someone needs, that you can help someone with, not how, rather than how to stay in a place because you're not moving. I like to get to the joy, get to the hope, get to the other side.
Nice. And how do you help people kind of get to that? Because I think there's a lot of ego involved in writing a book, in particular a memoir. So how do you help people get to their why?
Yeah, that's a really good question, particularly because we all have an ego and we all want to look good. And I tell people often, we're going to take the titles off when we come into the meeting. We're going to take, because if you came to me and you want to write a book, you want to get it done, and I don't want to not finish, so it's like, so I have a series of questions I often ask, and again, it goes back to what's the story we're talking about, and then we'll do a series of questions, and then we kind of got to fill each other out, because it's like building a relationship, really. Is this going to work? Am I going to like talking to you? Will I be willing to share with you? I've had a couple of young men who, it became a really like almost mentoring relationship, where they were like, wow, you got stuff out of me I've never shared with anyone. It's a valuable relationship that I honor, and I count as holy, even because it's a work you're doing. People are allowing you in their life. And so I have to respect it, but they have to respect it as well. The process that I'm here to support you. I'm here to get the best story out of you, make you look good. Because if you look good, I look good.
Absolutely. People buy more books.
Yes.
You buy more books, right? And you'll say, hey, this is the person who helped me with my book. And it's really, I'm honored that I get to be a part of so many different people's lives. I've helped over just about 50 people now, like from start to finish.
That's
wild. And that's a lot of time you spend with people
to
get that story out, to get it, completed, as well as I did a lot of online courses, particularly during pandemic, because people had nowhere to go. So they were online. And so we walked through stories and we talked about that first line being, you got to get their attention right away. So, it needs to be pow, right away. Don't just ease into it unless it's a scary story, unless we're doing some fiction and, suspense or something. But if you're trying to get people's attention, that opening line really has to say something, so getting people.
No, go ahead.
No, I was like, so getting people to understand not just your story, but it's who's it for, because you want someone to read your story. You want them to be engaged and to be like, oh my God, this is so good. Not like I couldn't put it down. Like I read it in one sitting kind of thing. You want that kind of reaction.
So curious how it would look. So for us, we had a written product that we had used an editor, but at that point we're just trying to get it published. And you helped us through the whole process with, I might say, within a matter of weeks, and we had a published product.
Literally.
But for someone that is coming to you, says, I want to write a book about becoming a doctor. I'm sure you can give prompts. What does the process look like? And is there a level of involvement that you could have with the client? For example, can you help me ghostwrite my book? Or do is there a certain amount of investment that the writer, make in that process?
Yeah.
You require?
And with regard to investment, the investment is we do a contract. So that you're going to sign on the dotted line that this is what you want to do.
Quarterly payments.
I've done exactly. So I have a couple of packages that I do. One is a complete book coaching package. So that's from idea to publish. Okay. So when you have nothing but ideas and nothing written down, then we start there. Okay. And we'll do a series of meetings. The first one is usually about 2 hours where we just kind of talk and see what's there, and see what comes about. And then I'll say, hey, I think these are some good ideas. And then we talk about the commitment, because you have to write.
Yes.
I will support the writing, but I'm not writing for you unless you do the ghostwriting package. Okay. But we're still going to be talking and having conversation, because I have to get your voice. I have to understand what your life has been in order for me to capture those words on paper. And I've had a number of people, and, one I think about, off the top of my head, just a wonderful client who is just like, wow, she's like, how did you know that? And I was like, I was talking to you, but I didn't really say that. That's what I heard, and it's like, so I'm listening for clues and cues and even just how you're navigating your life. And I also look to see what else have you done, because sometimes the path that you've taken actually is the story in your book, And then another option is, as you all had, an editing and publishing package, where you do have some things, whether it's in order or not, we clear that up. We do, different rounds of editing depending on if we have to clean up the story we have to put order, headings, things like that. And then me and my team, we work together, lay out, cover design, all the parts, to get you to published. But it's, it's a process like anything. And then there's the process after the book. It's sort of like, if you were to make a film, and then there's the promotion of the film. When you see these people all over TV promoting Superman or Jurassic Park now, it's because that's post-production. Now they're trying to get you to go. And so there's the post-production of even your book, where how do you mark this book now? How do you get it out? How do you let people know that you have this book out there?
And I would argue that that's more important. Well, I'd say more important, equally as important. And one of the things that going into it, I didn't quite understand. I was like, our book is great. Everyone's going to want to buy this book. Well, if they don't know about it, they can't buy it.
Yeah.
So can you talk along those lines? Is there something you wish that authors knew more before they started working with you? Or is there a myth that you'd like to dispel?
Well, I'll dispel the biggest myth. And that's the one where people come in and say, so I want to be a New York Times bestseller.
I mean,
and not that that's a bad
goal. Don't we all?
Right. It's not a bad goal. It's an amazing goal. It's a wonderful goal. But the first thing I will ask you is, how big is your following? Do you have a minimum of 50,000 people following you now on social media?
That word, yes.
That part.
Yeah. Right. And it's just like, because if your following isn't that, then unless you wrote something that a traditional, person who's seeking, stories is just like, oh my God, that's it. That's the book of the year. And we're going to give you, upfront fees to, totally we're the ones that's going to do this, and that's it. And it's like, if that's not the case, then it's like, then you're going to have to hustle and do some things, promoting it yourself, in your different markets, like connecting with newspapers and online newspapers and journalists and other people. Like, you have to grow and really just promoting it yourself. You got to get online. It's like, hey, you need to come to my book signing. You need to come check this out, and you really have to promote it yourself, because that's the era we actually live in now.
Right.
You know, and unless you have a huge PR, PR and marketing budget, you know, you're still gonna have to do it. You know, like, even if with it, you have to be a part of that promotion as well. You know, all the actors, like I was just saying with movies, they're out there promoting. Like, they may do the lead, and then they do the supporting cast, and they do, you know, if you all saw the movie Sinners, how many times did you see the multiple ways that they were promoting?
But that was so easy on the eyes, though, you know.
As I said, if I need a pair of Jordans, it's just that clears, right?
Those are the ones.
That's the pair of Jordans
so funny.
I want, you know.
And back on topic, yes.
Veer off. That's what happens in the conversations we have.
That's right.
Listen, we learn the things that you like. It's like, well, maybe we could put that in the book somewhere. But, yeah, these are the stories.
That's all good, very good intel, I think, because it's certainly, we started our book 10 years, well, now what, 12 years ago, right? Before we published, we just went our 2-year anniversary. And certainly things that weren't necessarily in our conversation, certainly then, and even, 5 years ago, but definitely what we learned, and you were very helpful in that process in terms of, okay, this is what you're still going to need to do. And you helped us to publish. What can you say, or what do you wish maybe more authors understood before choosing to self-publish as we did?
Well, it's sort of similar to what I was saying about your reach with traditional publishing. And actually, self-publishing, which is what this is called, when you publish yourself, where you put it on, different distribution sites yourself, because if a traditional publisher has not gone to you, they're not. You have to, hire a publicist. You have to hire and have multiple people. And unless you already have a platform, you're already an actor or speaker or celebrity in some way. And most of them, their books are ghostwritten. Just FYI, most of them don't write their books, and they're used for promotional purposes. Actually, a lot of times the way to promote your business now, instead of a business card, which many people don't have unless you do the dot card or the QR code, you don't remember those thousands of cards that you collected that's in a rubber band on your desk somewhere. You're like, wait, where did I meet
Guilty.
them? What
Yes.
did I?
Yes.
Yeah. And so a book, especially if you put your photo on it in some capacity on the front and the back, then people, I remember. And that's a way that they get to take you home, and they get to remember you, and you're in their purse or their, backpack or something where they're carrying you, and they're going to get to that and they're going to remember you. And that's how, that word of mouth travels, because they can then give it to someone else to read. And I know lots of people, their audiobook and their, other type, but that physical book, there's something about that, I think, that really makes a difference. Because even with traditional publishing, getting to that final physical book in your hand lets people really feel like I'm an author. I'm sure when you all got the book, The Game Plan, you're like, look at her.
Yeah.
Like, it's a different feeling you have than if you were just to, send an email link with the ebook on it. It's like, it's good.
Agreed.
Agreed. And it's good for certain uses, but when you're promoting yourself, when you really want to share with someone, and even to introduce young people to what's like to go to medical school, that physical book, because they're going to have a whole lot of them, a lot of big books they're going to be using in medical school.
Right.
And so that's a quick read for them compared to all the other materials that they're going to be using. And so knowing the purpose and the reason behind, why you need to go down this route, and what even, you're doing, how are you benefiting society and the world with what you're doing? And this is a way to get out even the gifts and the callings in you.
So sidebar here, curious what your thoughts are on that level in terms of anyone can write a book and anyone can publish a book. And there are thousands out there that are just solely written to say that I have a book. And so there's not necessarily the why or the who that you're writing to, or the mission, or the, the service to someone else. Do you have any opinions?
Just that lots of people write their books and they haven't been edited. So that would be a serious pet peeve of mine. Or, they were just told that, just write it, just get it done, but you haven't had, I believe there's safety in the counsel of others. Like let someone else see this, let someone else observe what it is and read it out
not
loud
just
even.
AI.
Yeah, and not just AI, because that's huge now. And AI can write it, but you still need to edit it because does AI know you?
Right.
You can put in all kinds of things, but the essence of who you are, like I have some testimonials, and there's one woman who is a descendant of Black Wall Street, and one of the things she said, and she saw like both of her grandfathers were enslaved. And she's alive. So her grandfathers, like you could think about your grandfathers, were they enslaved? No, she's alive today.
Wow.
And has two grandfathers, who were enslaved in this country. And so, but they also came out of slavery and started businesses immediately, So she has an amazing story. But one of the things that she wrote or said in a video testimonial, was that my background and the way she heard me and saw me edit her work was the linchpin to her saying, yes, this is the person for me. That cultural competence and other types of competence, you're not going to get with AI.
Yeah.
You can get it done, and the more it's, because it's learning as you put in, but it still can't duplicate life.
Yeah.
It's a robot.
Right.
It does well. I don't knock it. It's in everything actually that we do pretty much now with technology. But the thing is, you really want that story to be read. You want to hear it. It needs to resonate. Like I read the book Black Cake. I have lots of Jamaican friends. People think I'm
I like that book.
Yes, good book.
I actually have some Black Cake in my freezer from a wedding I went to June 14th.
Oh, wow.
I saved a little bit. But there is a Hulu show, Black Cake. So they have, I think it was 6 episodes or so. But it's like reading the book and then seeing the film version of it. It's just like, is it the same? And it's like, it's a different experience, and there's the cultural experience for people of Jamaica. There's the experience of immigration, moving from one place to another. How do I adjust? How do I leave behind who I am and become someone new? But how does that part of me still remain? So there's so many layers in that story. Just like when we were talking about sinners, there's so many layers and things, from that story, from the South, from businesses, from the Chinese business being in the middle, and different things that if you've lived in any of these areas, you've seen that, or heard family members or ancestors talk about that. And so I think it's so important, that as we tell these stories, that the real you comes out, Nothing beats authenticity, it's like robots can't beat it. It's like you can use AI for what it needs to be used for, but when you're telling your story, it's like it's so important to really have a heart for your reader. That's who you really want to change a life for. Like when someone gets your book, you really want them to go to medical school and be successful like you all are.
Right.
And you want them
or
to
not go to medical school because they have an understanding.
Exactly. And I was going to say, or read through and see what were the challenges, what were the struggles, what were the things.
Avoid the
How
pitfalls.
do you navigate relationships? How do you navigate kids? And so that book helps them have, a real life view from real life people and women at that, who did it, and look good doing it.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So what does success look like for you now? How would you define it?
How would I define it? Let's see. I think it's in different stages of life. I turned 60. 2 years ago, I wrote a book myself called Power to Excel. And that's the underlying name of my business. Because I believe that everything we need is inside of us. And so I think as we live through life, it's like what else is there? You know, at 60, what else is there about to do? You know, what else is there inside of you that you haven't done? And sometimes it's leveraging what you already have. You know, the writing, you know, is a through line for most of my life. So what else have I not done in writing? You know, like I started film. You know, I started writing a movie. It's in pre-production. I haven't completed it. It's just like, oh,
wonderful.
That's a huge.
I was going to come full circle with all those stories that you wrote for at church. Wonderful.
And the thing about it, it's actually a story from the past, you know, and it's just like, and things you don't think about, you know, pulled it out of a yearbook. It's like, oh man, like, wow, I forgot about that. You know, but it really makes you think about.
Soon come. We have, yes, definitely.
Yeah, but it's like, and even for people of color, having more love stories out in this universe of film, you know, having Black and brown love stories out there that are told authentically, that's told from our point of view. And we're not the sidekick. We're not, you know, we're the main character in this. And so, you know, the filmmaker I was working with, you know, that's something that's in her portfolio. And so being able to tell stories in a different way. So, you know, I've done theater. And so film is a different medium, you know, because it's up close, you know, you see a camera focusing on an eyelash, you know, on the stage, it's big and loud and proud, you know. So it's a different way of telling a story, you know, but the theater, you have your audience and it's intimate, you know. Like I saw Denzel Washington Othello earlier.
Really?
Before they closed down on Broadway, but that was just an amazing experience. Because I'm like, I'm in the room with Denzel.
Yes.
Like, I go way back as I wrote. He's been fine my whole life, okay?
Same. God says it's same.
You know? So it's just like, yes, I will see that and whatever else he's in next.
Oh, my goodness.
But it's
so it
like,
sounds like, no, you're good. It sounds like success to you means continuing to grow your gifts that you already have. So not necessarily trying to find some new form of Valerie, but just expanding, you know, the natural gifts that you have, or even kind of reaching back to
reaching back. Because, you know, they say we only use about 10% of our brain. It's like, okay, what's it like to just mine 5% more? Like if we've gotten this far with 10%, like, oh my God, just add another 5 or 10% and see how much further you can go. And really, you know, just seeing also who you can bring with you. Like I love mentoring, you know, some mentoring is just organic. I don't even look for it, but it's like women in their 20s usually, you know, that a little independent, away from home, just fall into my sphere. And it becomes a natural thing, just really helping them to navigate life, you know, at that stage. And I think at every stage of our life, we're either giving or receiving, and sometimes both, and just being open to it, you know, because we have so much, you know, at our disposal sometimes, and we don't realize it, you know, because we haven't learned to tap in. So a lot of what Power to Excel is for me, it's tapping in. It's like, what's in you that you haven't used, or what do you have that someone needs, you know, because the more you give out, the more you have to give, because to me, it just duplicates and exponentially, you know, keeps coming back to you. So you're like, I don't have a scarcity mindset, as they call it, but one of abundance, you know, that I don't feel that if I give out, I'm going to be lacking, you know, but if I give out, it just expands the universe of people
and it comes back.
Connections I have. Yeah, absolutely.
So if your life were a book, what would the title of your chapter be right now?
Right now? I want to die empty.
Oh, wow. Tell us more.
Yeah, and kind of just continuing on to where we were, just be used up. I want to do everything that I'm supposed to do. I don't want to leave anything on the table. It's just like, and learning how to not hold things too tightly, because sometimes, you know, I know in my own life, I've stayed places too long. You know, we may have situations where we've stayed in a relationship too long, but it's like not holding on to things too tightly, because it might be the reason for you being uncomfortable, or it's because it's time to move, you know? And so what's the next
wisdom.
thing? Yeah. Thank you. What's the next thing that I need to do? Next place I need to go, next person I need to meet. And I'll add to that, so travel is a big part of my life. And I often will travel by myself. You know, I think the people in my life finally understand that I'm okay doing that. You know, it's like,
is that
oh my
something new
God.
for you, or have you done
No,
that?
I've done it for a couple decades now.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I go places with people, but I go lots of places by myself. And at
Do you
this
have a
season,
favorite place that you've been kind of for
um,
solo travel?
and let's see, I will say Greece. I was in
Ah,
Greece Mother's Day on a boat in this lovely captain and said to myself, I'm on a boat on Mother's Day in Greece. Like, oh my God,
Nice,
you know,
nice.
but I love traveling the world. I'm already planning my Ghana trip. Um,
Have you been
talk to
before?
Sylvia.
I have not.
Oh,
I
man, we'll
have
have to
not.
talk offline. I've been
Oh,
twice. It's
wonderful.
just fantastic.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And
And
I
I,
need to hear about Greece. So,
yeah. And it's just like, and I find that like I'm that type of person. I'm, hey, how are you? I'm Valerie, da da da. And
Mhm.
I remember meeting, I was in Mexico last summer and there was, the woman was from Iowa and the man was from Indonesia and they were married.
Mm.
And so I'm
Mhm.
like, can we
Where'd
have
they
lunch?
meet?
Because I
Yeah.
want to hear this story.
This story,
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
the storyteller in me is
yeah.
intrigued by different
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
people that I meet when I
Hmm.
travel. And I find that if I go with people I know, then we're going to talk about stuff we know. But if I
Right.
go
That's true.
independently, then
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more open to, you
Hmm.
know, more organic kind of experiences and things
Conversations.
that happen, or I see things that I may not have seen before when I'm by myself because I'm observing stuff differently. And
I can
so
see
that
that.
has worked for me, you know, and I come back with lots of more engaging stories and not just
Mm.
like we did this together and then we did that, like a lot of the things that you will normally do when you're with
Hmm.
groups, but you know, kind of when you have a different eye or lens on things, you know, it's a different experience, and I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Love that. So it sounds like travel is, I would include that potentially as part of a self-care regimen.
Yeah,
Can you give us any more about what your
self
self-care
care,
regimen looks like?
definitely massage. Stretch therapy. I was like, I pay a lot of people to touch me. It's like, pull this, do this. Like, wait a minute. Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Tell
Let
me
That's
me
a
more
write
about
different
the
pulling
stretch
that out.
episode.
therapy. Yeah. Tell us
But
about the
I'm
stretch
a,
therapy.
have you never did stretch therapy? Oh
I've
my God. It's
not,
the
and I'm
best.
interested. And I would, I mean, I imagine I should know this talking to patients because I talk
Yes.
about
Yeah.
yoga and all the things we should be doing
And I
and
think I like,
stretching.
yeah, the hands-on, and particularly, you know, we're in this Zoom environment. We sit a lot. As a
Hmm.
writer, I sit a lot, and
Yes.
so getting these muscles moved and stretched,
Mhm.
and so the physical hands-on movement and
Hmm.
manipulation really works for me.
Hmm.
If I can't get outside and walk or do a little running, a little, it's like, you know, or get in a gym and use the weights to do that,
Hmm.
then you know, and it's almost where I was literally talking to the people at the massage place I go to. It's like, how much would it be for me to come weekly? Like, what do we need to do to get that on my
There you
schedule?
go.
Because
Mhm.
it's
Good for
almost a
you.
need, you know,
It
to
is a
really,
need.
you know,
Yeah.
because for me it
Yeah.
helps me to get out of my head, like all
Yes.
the
Mm.
thoughts that are circling all day, you know,
Hmm.
and then I can focus and be really in tune with my body. I was a part of this consultancy organization that came into where we are. And the first thing they started each session with was breathing and where in your
Mm.
body do you feel it? You
Mhm.
know,
Mm.
like the stress or the excitement or the
Yeah.
joy or, you know, whatever the feeling is, where in your
Where is
body
it?
are you feeling that? So I'm very
Mm.
body conscious now about different
Hmm.
things. And so, so massage and stretch therapy, I'm going to try to see if I can get back to yoga. I was doing some hip hop belly dancer for a while, but that class,
There
I
Oh,
you
wow.
was
go.
like,
That's
oh
great.
man, that was like the best class ever, man. So anything dance related,
Same. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think you guys know this, but when I was at Georgetown undergrad, I co-founded a dance company, um,
No.
No.
Black Movements Dance Theater.
No.
Wow.
Yes, it's on the website. It's a whole performing arts building there now on the campus. It didn't exist. We were dancing in the Walsh Science Building back in the day on
Wow.
concrete. So that's a neat issue I have now. But
Got it.
yeah, so dance and any kind of physical movement for me. So the
Hmm.
travel even, I love going to places where I can walk and see the city,
Mhm.
see the places,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
kind of navigate the terrain because it helps
Hmm.
me get grounded. So when I'm in
Hmm.
places, I can really feel what's
Hmm.
happening in that place and sense it. And so that's I put it in my need category, traveling and all the physical kind of stretch and massage things that I love to do. Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Very cool.
Valerie, where can people find you online?
Well, they can find me online on Facebook and Instagram at the Book Coach Accelerator. And my website is Book Coach Excel. There's a hyphen erater.biz. So we can share that information with them. But yeah, Book Coach Accelerator.biz. And you can see all kinds of testimonials, the type of services I offer, lots of different wonderful books that we've published as part of the organization. And just if you want to just reach out and subscribe to our email list. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we definitely will share all of that in our show notes and our blog as well. Are there any last parting words or message that you'd like our audience to know before we have to go today?
So keep writing. Okay. Don't let the story get away from you. And I share that. I was a big fan of Judy Blume.
Oh, wow.
Same.
Have you watched Forever on?
I did. And in addition to so when the film came out, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, a couple years ago, and I saw it as we were talking about promoting, Judy Blume was promoting, it on Good Morning America.
Right.
I wrote down in my journal, I would love to meet her.
Oh.
I did.
Oh, wow.
He has a bookstore in Key West. I went to Key West a couple of years ago, and I was on a little boating excursion, and when it came back, and I was like, wait a minute, the bookstore is around here somewhere. And I figured out where it was, and it was only 2 blocks from where the boat docked. And she was in her bookstore on the floor putting a collection together. And I had my first book I wrote with me. We exchanged books. I had her sign my book I bought.
Oh my goodness.
And I gave her my book, and she wrote to my New Jersey sister girl writer, keep writing. So I say to all of you,
keep writing.
Right.
Beautiful.
Don't let the story get away from you. Keep writing. You never know. You might meet one of your idols one day.
We will have to end on that note. What a beautiful, beautiful experience that you shared. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Such a pleasure talking to you all.
Yeah, well, we're forever eternally grateful for all that you did for us. I can go on and on. I think I actually, when I was doing the research for you this time, although I already knew you, listened to my own testimonial and had diarrhea of the mouth, but it was really a sisterhood experience working with you. We were truly blessed, just the way that we found you organically. But we hope that anyone that's interested in getting their book published, needs help writing their book, would definitely look you up and know that they're in good hands. So until we meet again, may you be well.
Thank you. You too.
Sylvia, what a fantastic conversation. We learned so much today about the process of a writer, book coach, and editor. Valerie is such an accomplished storyteller. Tell me some of your takeaways, what resonated with you today.
I'd like when she talked about writing your way out. So using writing as a tool to kind of see where you're going, to kind of move you if you are stuck doing something or you're not certain, but to write your way out. The other thing she talked about is not holding on too tight. And certainly sometimes I have had a tendency of you hold on because you think you're doing the thing that's going to help you get forward. So you hold on, but sometimes you need to let go and allow spirit to move you to the next thing. And then finally, she shocked me when she talked about wanting to die empty. And I think I'm going to have to think about that for a moment. I hadn't thought of it in that way, but doing everything that you're supposed to do, that is for you to do, and dying empty. That was like, that was interesting. What about you?
Yeah, that concept, I've seen it written in many different forms. And one of them is kind of, I think of this image of this woman that just kind of lived life to its fullest and, left nothing on the table at the end. And I do like the concept there. the imagery that I saw when she brought it out was like, yeah, you leaving everything that, were gifted and were supposed to share with others in this thing we call life. So I like that. Mining that 5% more. I like because she's talking about just building on your gifts. There's certain areas of our brain that we use over and over and over again. And certainly for us as women in the stage that we are in our careers, there's so much that experience, knowledge that we have, and I'll say wisdom that we can just continue to build upon, but maybe in different directions, not necessarily this staying in that same path that we thought we were necessarily aiming for when we were in our 20s and 30s. So I like just mining that extra 5%, but still in the vein of growing. I like that. And keep writing. And so I think that for writers, it's continue to write so that you still are staying fresh. For people that aren't necessarily trying to write a book or write an article or anything like that, just the action of writing, whether it's in a journal, or if you get up in the morning. I saw this the other day of a coach that I know of that just talked about writing all of the thoughts that are in her head down in 3 pages and then just throwing them away just to get all the random thoughts out. Now, for me, I cannot do that. I can't spend time writing for all that and then throw it away.
But 3 pages. I'm like, what?
But the notion of just writing to get it out of your head, and to keep writing, and then oftentimes you'll find that story that you do want to tell, or that might resonate with someone else, or it's just something that you need to get out of yourself. And now that it's out, it's released, and you're lighter. So yeah, lots of good information with her, which we thought we were going to get. So we're so grateful for that, and just excited to see what happens next in her career. And certainly, if I ever need someone to help with writing and editing, then we already know what that experience was like with her, and would look her up again. So hopefully our audience has some good takeaways, and now know someone if they are interested in writing or publishing their next book. But at this point, that kind of wraps up our interview with Valerie McDowell. And certainly if her story spoke to you, hit follow, share it with your people, subscribe on YouTube, and leave us a review. Let us know what your thoughts are, and certainly anything that you want to hear about or see in one of our upcoming episodes, let us know. And until next time, until we meet again, may you be well.
May you be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Leap. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bossleappodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. It's the legal language, and you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.